Commander Sarah Chun adjusted the tactical display with practiced movements, her cybernetic arm interfacing directly with the holographic controls floating before her. The bridge of a UES Prometheus hummed with controlled tension as her crew prepared for what many considered humanity's most audacious military operation to date. Through the reinforced viewports, Saturn's largest moon loomed like a russet jewel against the cosmic void, its methane lakes glinting under the distant sun's pale light. "Commander, we're receiving final confirmation from Earth Command," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. "Operation Titanfall is authorized to proceed." Sarah nodded grimly. 3 years of preparation had led to this moment. The alien hegemony had established their forward operating base on Titan's surface, using the moon's unique atmospheric composition and distance from Earth's primary defenses as a staging ground for their planned invasion of the inner solar system. What they hadn't counted on was humanity's stubborn refusal to accept defeat, even when facing an enemy that had conquered 17 star systems. The tactical situation appeared hopeless by any reasonable military assessment. The hegemony possessed superior technology, overwhelming numbers, and centuries of experience in interstellar warfare. Their crystalline ships could phase through solid matter. Their energy weapons could disintegrate molecular bonds, and their ground forces consisted of genetically enhanced warriors bred specifically for combat. Against this alien juggernaut, humanity could field only determination, ingenuity, and a willingness to sacrifice everything for survival. "Status report from all squadrons," Sarah commanded, her voice carrying across the bridge with the authority earned through years of deep space combat operations. "Phantom Squadron reports ready for atmospheric insertion," came the response from Squadron Leader Martinez. "All stealth corvettes are equipped with the new quantum scramblers." "Hammerhead Squadron standing by for orbital bombardment support," added Captain Kim from the heavy cruiser Mjolnir. "Railgun batteries are charged and targeting solutions are locked." "Titan Base Alpha confirms readiness for ground assault," reported Major Hassan through the long-range communicator. "Marine battalions are suited up and ready for deployment." Sarah studied the holographic representation of Titan floating before her. Intelligence reports indicated the hegemony had constructed a massive installation near the Kraken Mare, one of Titan's largest methane seas. The facility reportedly housed their regional command center, weapons manufacturing plants, and a dimensional gateway capable of bringing reinforcements from their home galaxy. Destroying this installation wouldn't end the war, but it would cripple their ability to launch the planned assault on Earth's orbital defenses. The plan was audacious in its simplicity and terrifying in its execution requirements. Human forces would coordinate a three-pronged attack designed to overwhelm the alien defenses through sheer unpredictability. The stealth squadrons would infiltrate Titan's atmosphere and disable the facility's shield generators. The orbital bombardment would create breaches in the installation's outer defenses. The ground assault would then penetrate the facility and plant nuclear charges in the dimensional gateway's power core. "Commander, we're detecting increased hegemony patrol activity around the target zone," reported Ensign Park from the sensor station. "Their scout ships are conducting systematic sweeps of the approach vectors." Sarah frowned as she analyzed the new data streaming across her display. The aliens had clearly detected some indication of the approaching human fleet, though their full-spectrum sensors shouldn't have been able to penetrate the stealth fields generated by human ships. Either they had developed new detection methods, or someone had leaked information about the operation. "Adjust the approach vectors by 15 degrees and implement communication silence protocol," she ordered. "All squadrons are to maintain radio silence until we reach the insertion point." The next 6 hours passed with agonizing slowness as the human fleet navigated through Saturn's ring system, using the ice particles and rocky debris as natural camouflage against the hegemony's sensors. Sarah found herself thinking about the intelligence briefings that had led to this moment. The hegemony's military doctrine relied heavily on technological superiority and overwhelming force, but their commander showed a disturbing tendency toward predictable tactical patterns. Human strategists had identified this weakness and designed the entire operation around exploiting it. "Commander, we're approaching the final checkpoint," announced Navigator Williams. "Titan's gravity well is beginning to affect our trajectory." Sarah activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the commander speaking. We are about to begin humanity's counterattack against an enemy that believes we are incapable of meaningful resistance. They have underestimated our resolve, our ingenuity, and our willingness to fight for our home. Today we prove that humanity will never surrender, never retreat, and never accept defeat. Stations, everyone." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency as the Prometheus and its escort fleet prepared for combat operations. Sarah felt the familiar weight of command settling on her shoulders as she contemplated the thousands of lives under her protection and the billions more depending on their success. The hegemony had conquered countless civilizations through a combination of superior technology and psychological warfare designed to break their enemies' will to resist. They would learn that humans possessed something their previous victims had lacked: an absolute refusal to accept extinction. "Phantom Squadron, begin atmospheric insertion in 30 seconds, Sarah commanded. "Remember, you need to maintain stealth until you reach the shield generators. One detected corvette could compromise the entire operation." "Understood, Commander," replied Squadron Leader Martinez. "We're going silent now." Sarah watched as 12 stealth corvettes separated from the main fleet and began their descent toward Titan's surface. Each ship carried a crew of specialists trained specifically for this mission, along with experimental weapons designed to disrupt the alien shield technology. The corvettes would need to navigate through Titan's dense atmospheric layers while avoiding detection by the hegemony sensor networks, then locate and destroy the shield generators protecting the installation. "Hammerhead Squadron, move to bombardment positions," she continued. "Target the primary defense towers, but wait for confirmation that the shields are down before opening fire." "Roger that, Commander," responded Captain Kim. "We're tracking multiple alien patrol ships in the target area. Should we engage if they interfere?" "Negative. Maintain stealth unless directly threatened. We need the element of surprise for this to work." Sarah turned her attention to the ground assault preparations. Major Hassan's Marines were loaded aboard modified dropships equipped with additional armor and atmosphere processors. They would need to survive Titan's hostile environment while fighting through heavily defended alien positions, then penetrate an installation designed to withstand orbital bombardment. The success of the entire operation depended on their ability to reach and destroy the dimensional gateway before hegemony reinforcements could arrive. "Commander, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command," reported Lieutenant Torres. "Admiral Morrison wants to speak with you directly." Sarah accepted the transmission, and Admiral Morrison's weathered face appeared on the main screen. The old soldier looked tired, but determined as he addressed her from his command center on Luna Base. "Commander Chun, I want you to know that every person in the solar system is watching what you do today," Morrison said. "Intelligence reports suggest the hegemony is preparing for their final assault on our inner defenses. If you can destroy their staging ground on Titan, you'll buy us the time we need to complete the new defense platforms." "Understood, Admiral. We won't let you down. I know you won't." Morrison out. The transmission ended, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts as the fleet continued its approach toward Titan. She thought about her childhood on Mars Colony, watching Earth rise above the red horizon and dreaming of exploring the stars. She had never imagined that her first journey to Saturn's system would be as part of humanity's desperate struggle for survival. "Commander, Phantom Squadron reports successful atmospheric insertion," announced Lieutenant Torres. "They're proceeding toward the target zone under stealth." "Excellent. How long until they reach the shield generators?" "Estimated arrival in 47 minutes. Sarah nodded and began reviewing the tactical data one final time. The hegemony installation sprawled across several square kilometers of Titan's surface, protected by multiple layers of defensive systems. Intelligence indicated the facility could house up to 50,000 alien personnel, along with automated defense systems capable of engaging multiple targets simultaneously. The shield generators were located at the installation's perimeter, heavily guarded, but vulnerable to the right kind of attack. Commander, we're detecting increased communication traffic from the hegemony facility, reported Ensign Park. They may be conducting routine status updates, but the volume is higher than normal. Keep monitoring their transmissions. If they detect our approach, we need to know immediately. The minutes stretched by with agonizing slowness as Sarah watched the tactical display update with new information from the reconnaissance drones. The hegemony had clearly strengthened their defenses since the last intelligence update, with additional weapon platforms and patrol ships protecting the installation's approaches. The aliens were taking no chances with their most important forward operating base. Commander, Phantom Squadron reports visual contact with the shield generators, announced Lieutenant Torres. They're beginning their attack runs now. Sarah felt her heart rate increase as the critical phase of the operation began. Everything depended on the stealth corvettes successfully disabling the installation's shields without alerting the main defensive network. If even one generator remained operational, the orbital bombardment would be ineffective and the ground assault would face impossible odds. All squadrons prepare for combat operations, she commanded. This is what we trained for. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth or Mars or the outer colonies. We're fighting for the right of humanity to exist among the stars. The bridge crew responded with quiet professionalism as they made final preparations for battle. Sarah knew that many of them would not survive the next few hours, but she also knew they understood the stakes. The hegemony had made it clear that they considered humanity a threat to be eliminated rather than a civilization to be conquered. There would be no negotiation, no surrender, and no mercy for Earth's children. Commander, Phantom Squadron reports successful hits on 3 shield generators. Came the update from Lieutenant Torres. 2 more to go. Sarah watched the tactical display as bright flashes appeared around the hegemony installation. The alien defenders were finally beginning to respond, with patrol ships moving to intercept the human corvettes and defensive weapons coming online. The element of surprise was fading rapidly, but the stealth squadron was making progress toward their objectives. Hammerhead Squadron, stand by for a bombardment, she ordered. As soon as those shields drop, I want everything you've got hitting their defensive positions. Standing by, Commander, replied Captain Kim. All weapons are charged and ready. The next few minutes would determine whether humanity's desperate gambit had any chance of success. Sarah gripped the command chair's armrests as she watched humanity's finest warriors engage an enemy that had never known defeat. Today would prove whether human determination could overcome alien superiority, or whether Earth's children were destined to join the countless civilizations that had already fallen to the hegemony's inexorable advance. The battle for Titan had begun, and, with it, humanity's last hope for survival among the stars. The methane rain hammered against Lieutenant Elena Vasquez's helmet visor as she pressed herself against the crystalline wall of the hegemony installation. Through her suit's enhanced optics, she could see the alien patrol moving in perfect formation, their elongated forms gliding effortlessly through Titan's dense atmosphere. Each warrior stood nearly 3 meters tall, their biomechanical armor gleaming with an oily iridescence that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. Contact, 2 clicks northwest, she whispered into her comm unit. Patrol of 6 hostiles moving toward the shield generator complex. Major Hassan's voice crackled back through the static caused by Titan's electromagnetic interference. Understood, Vasquez. Hold position until Phantom Squadron completes their run. Elena adjusted her grip on the modified plasma rifle, feeling the weapon's familiar weight against her shoulder. The gun had been specially designed for operation in Titan's hostile environment, with internal heating elements to prevent the methane from freezing solid in the firing mechanism. Human engineering at its finest, she thought with grim satisfaction. The aliens might have superior technology, but humans had always excelled at adapting their tools to impossible conditions. The ground assault team had been deployed 6 hours earlier via stealth dropships, landing in the rough terrain surrounding Krakenmare. The methane sea stretched to the horizon like a dark mirror, its surface occasionally disturbed by nitrogen geysers erupting from the seabed. The landing had been rough but successful, with all 12 squads making planetfall within acceptable parameters of their designated zones. Elena's squad had drawn what many considered the suicide mission, penetrating the installation's outer defenses and clearing a path for the main assault force. The hegemony had learned from their encounters with human forces and had adapted their defensive strategies accordingly. Instead of relying solely on technological superiority, they had begun implementing multiple redundant systems designed to counter humanity's preference for asymmetric warfare tactics. "Movement to the east," reported Corporal Jackson, his voice tight with controlled tension. "Looks like a maintenance crew heading for the primary power coupling." Elena shifted position to observe the new contacts. 3 alien technicians were approaching a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with an inner light, their movements precise and purposeful. The power coupling fed energy to the installation's primary defensive grid, making it a high-priority target for the assault team. "Hassan, this is Vasquez. We have an opportunity here." 3 techs approaching the power coupling with minimal security. "Negative, Vasquez. Maintain position until the shields drop. We can't risk alerting the main defensive network." Elena gritted her teeth, but acknowledged the order. Major Hassan was right, of course. Premature action could doom the entire operation, but watching potential targets move freely while her squad remained hidden went against every combat instinct she had developed during her years fighting the hegemony. The aliens had killed her brother during the Battle of Europa and had destroyed her home colony on Ganymede. Personal revenge would have to wait for the greater good of the mission. The tactical display in her helmet showed the positions of the other assault squads spread across the installation's perimeter. Each team had specific objectives designed to maximize confusion and prevent the aliens from mounting an organized defense. Squad Alpha would target the communication arrays to prevent calls for reinforcement. Squad Beta would eliminate the automated defense turrets protecting the main entrance. Squad Charlie would secure the landing zones for the follow-up waves of Marines. "All squads, this is Hassan," came the Major's voice over the command frequency. "Phantom Squadron reports successful hits on 4 of 5 shield generators. Stand by for final attack." Elena felt her pulse quicken as the moment of truth approached. The stealth corvettes had performed magnificently, penetrating Titan's atmosphere and navigating to their targets without detection. But the hardest part still lay ahead. Once the shields dropped, the installation's automated defenses would activate, and the ground assault teams would face the full fury of hegemony military technology. "Contact front!" shouted Jackson as alien warriors suddenly materialized from behind a cluster of storage tanks. "They found us!" Elena rolled sideways as crystalline projectiles sparked against the wall where she had been crouching. The hegemony weapons fired bursts of superheated plasma contained within crystalline matrices, creating ammunition that could penetrate most known armor materials. She returned fire with short, controlled bursts, watching her shots impact against the aliens' energy shields. "They've got personal deflectors," she called out. "Switch to armor-piercing rounds." The firefight erupted across the installation's outer perimeter as human squads found themselves engaged by increasingly alert alien patrols. Elena's training took over as she moved from cover to cover, using the industrial equipment scattered around the facility to break line of sight with the enemy forces. The aliens were skilled fighters, but they showed a tendency to rely on their technological advantages rather than tactical flexibility. "Vasquez, report." Major Hassan's voice cut through the battle noise. "Contact with 6 hostiles, possible more moving to our position," she replied while reloading her weapon. "We're holding for now, but they're bringing up heavy weapons. All squads, shields are down. Repeat, the installation shields are down. Hammerhead Squadron is beginning bombardment in 30 seconds. Elena looked up to see brilliant flashes of light streaking down through Titan's orange sky. The orbital bombardment was finally beginning, with railgun rounds and plasma charges striking the installation's primary defensive positions. Explosions bloomed across the alien facility as human firepower found its mark against previously protected targets. "Move out," she shouted to her squad. "We need to reach the power coupling before they bring the backup shields online." The squad advanced through the chaos of the bombardment, using the confusion to close distance with their primary objective. Elena could see the alien technicians desperately trying to activate emergency protocols while dodging falling debris from the orbital strikes. The power coupling stood 50 meters away, its crystalline surface pulsing with increasing intensity as the installation's defense systems drew more power. "Jackson, Morrison, take the left flank," she ordered. "Carter, Williams, you're with me up the middle. We go fast and hard." The assault across open ground felt like an eternity compressed into seconds. Elena sprinted through the methane rain while alien weapons fire erupted around her position. Her suit's environmental systems struggled to maintain internal pressure as microfractures appeared in the helmet visor from near-miss impacts. Behind her, she could hear the distinctive whine of human plasma weapons as her squad mates provided covering fire. The power coupling loomed ahead like a technological monument, its crystalline facets reflecting the chaos of the battle raging around the installation. Elena could see the alien technicians had taken cover behind the structure's base, their weapons trained on the approaching humans. She primed a plasma grenade and lobbed it toward their position, watching the brilliant explosion scatter the defenders. "Coupling secured," she reported as her squad took defensive positions around the massive structure. Initiating shutdown sequence. Corporal Jackson connected his portable computer to the alien system, his fingers flying over the keyboard as he attempted to decode the hegemony's control protocols. Human intelligence had provided basic information about the aliens' technology, but actually interfacing with their systems required real-time adaptation and considerable luck. "It's encrypted with some kind of quantum algorithm," he reported. "I need more time to crack it." "Time we don't have," Elena replied, watching new alien forces moving toward their position. "How long for manual overload?" 2 minutes if I bypass the safety systems." "Do it." Elena turned her attention to the approaching enemy forces. At least 20 hegemony warriors were advancing in a coordinated assault pattern, their movements synchronized with mechanical precision. These weren't patrol troops or technicians. They were elite soldiers designed specifically for combat operations. Her squad's chances of holding the position against such opposition were minimal at best. "Hassan, this is Vasquez. We're about to be overrun at the power coupling. Need immediate support." "Negative on the reinforcements, Vasquez. All squads are engaged. You need to hold until Jackson completes the overload." Elena checked her ammunition and counted 7 full magazines remaining. Not nearly enough for a prolonged firefight against superior numbers. She activated her suit's tactical computer and began analyzing the alien approach routes, looking for any advantage that might tip the odds in humanity's favor. "Incoming aircraft," shouted Williams as alien atmospheric fighters descended from the methane clouds above. "They're targeting our position." The fighters unleashed salvos of crystalline projectiles that exploded against the ground around the power coupling. Elena felt her suit's damage indicators flashing as shrapnel peppered her armor. One fragment pierced the left shoulder joint, and she could feel the cold methane beginning to seep into the suit's internal atmosphere. "Seal breach in progress," announced her suit's computer in its calm, artificial voice. "Estimated time to critical pressure loss, 12 minutes. 12 minutes to complete the mission and find extraction." Elena almost laughed at the absurdity of the situation. She was fighting an impossible battle against overwhelming odds, on a moon where the atmosphere itself was trying to kill her, all to buy humanity a few more months before the inevitable final assault. But impossible battles were what humans did best. Overload sequence initiated. Jackson reported. 60 seconds to detonation. Elena rallied her squad for one final defensive stand as the alien warriors closed to within effective weapons range. The power coupling began to emit an ominous humming sound as its crystalline structure started to crack under the stress of the forced overload. If Jackson's calculations were correct, the resulting explosion would cascade through the installation's power grid and disable half of their defensive systems. Contact front, contact left. Morrison's voice carried across the tactical frequency as alien forces attacked from multiple directions simultaneously. They're everywhere. The firefight reached its crescendo as human and alien weapons exchanged fire across the industrial landscape. Elena watched her ammunition counter drop steadily as she engaged target after target, each shot carefully placed to maximize damage against the aliens' energy shields. Her squad fought with the desperate courage of soldiers who knew they were buying victory with their lives. 30 seconds to detonation. Jackson shouted over the battle noise. All squads, clear the power coupling area. Major Hassan's voice cut through the chaos. Explosive detonation in 30 seconds. Elena looked around at her squad and realized they would never make it to minimum safe distance in time. The alien forces had surrounded their position, and breaking through would require more time than they had remaining. She made the decision that would haunt the dreams of the survivors for years to come. Squad, fall back to secondary positions, she ordered. I'll maintain overwatch on the coupling. Like hell, Jackson replied. We're not leaving you behind. That's an order, Corporal. The mission comes first. Elena watched her squad retreat toward the installation's outer perimeter while she maintained suppressing fire on the advancing aliens. The power coupling's humming had risen to an almost unbearable pitch, and cracks of brilliant light were beginning to appear along its surface. She had perhaps 10 seconds before the structure reached critical overload. The alien warriors realized what was happening and began a desperate charge toward the power coupling, hoping to disrupt the overload sequence before it reached completion. Elena emptied her last magazine in a final burst of covering fire, then drew her sidearm for the last few seconds of the countdown. The explosion was brilliant and terrible, a sphere of pure energy that vaporized everything within a 100-meter radius and sent shockwaves racing through the installation's power grid. Elena's last conscious thought was a sense of satisfaction that humanity had finally struck back at the monsters who thought they could extinguish Earth's children without consequence. The power coupling's destruction cascaded through the hegemony installation like a technological plague, disabling defensive systems and creating the breach that Major Hassan's assault teams needed to penetrate the facility's inner defenses. Lieutenant Elena Vasquez had bought that opportunity with her life, joining the countless human warriors who had chosen sacrifice over surrender in humanity's darkest hour. Major Hassan's boots echoed against the crystalline floor of the hegemony installation as his assault team advanced through corridors that defied human architectural understanding. The walls curved and flowed like frozen liquid, their surfaces embedded with pulsing veins of energy that provided an eerie blue illumination. Behind him, 23 Marines moved with practiced stealth, their heavy combat armor specially modified to function in Titan's hostile environment. Motion sensors detect multiple hostiles ahead, whispered Sergeant Reeves, her voice barely audible through the comm system. Looks like a checkpoint of some kind. Hassan raised his fist to halt the column and activated his helmet's tactical display. The scanner showed a large chamber approximately 50 meters ahead, with at least 6 alien signatures positioned around what appeared to be a control station. Intelligence reports had indicated the installation would be heavily defended, but the actual layout defied all human expectations of military architecture. Chun, Williams, take point, he ordered. Everyone else, prepare for close quarters combat. Remember, we need to reach the dimensional gateway before they can summon reinforcements. The infiltration had begun 12 minutes earlier when Hassan's team had breached the installation's outer hull through a maintenance port damaged during the orbital bombardment. The assault through the facility's outer defenses had cost them 8 Marines, including Lieutenant Vasquez and her entire squad. Their sacrifice had disabled the power coupling and created the opening Hassan needed to penetrate the hegemony's inner sanctum. The alien installation stretched deep underground, extending far beyond what surface reconnaissance had revealed. Hassan's team was navigating through what appeared to be the facility's administrative levels, searching for the main elevator system that would take them to the dimensional gateway's control chamber. Every minute they spent searching was another minute the aliens could use to organize their defenses or call for backup from their home galaxy. "Contact ahead," reported Chun as the point team reached the chamber entrance. 6 hostiles, standard patrol configuration. Hassan moved forward to assess the situation through his rifle scope attachment. The hegemony guards were positioned around a hexagonal control station that pulsed with the same blue energy found throughout the installation. Each warrior carried weapons that looked more like works of art than military equipment, their crystalline surfaces reflecting and refracting the ambient light into prismatic rainbows. "We take them fast and quiet," Hassan whispered to his team. "Chun and Williams go left, Rodriguez and Kim take the right. Everyone else follows my lead through the center." The assault lasted less than 30 seconds. Human plasma weapons discharged in precise bursts, their superheated charges overloading the aliens' personal energy shields and striking home against biomechanical armor. The hegemony warriors fought back with coordinated efficiency, but their weapons were designed for long-range engagement rather than the close-quarters battle that humans preferred. "Clear," reported Chun as the last alien fell to the floor. Checking for intelligence. Hassan examined the control station while his team established a defensive perimeter around the chamber. The alien interface consisted of crystalline panels that responded to touch with complex holographic displays. Most of the information was incomprehensible, written in the flowing script that characterized hegemony communication, but some elements appeared to be schematic diagrams of the installation's layout. "Sergeant Reeves, can you make sense of this?" Hassan asked, stepping aside to allow the team's technical specialist access to the alien computer. Reeves connected her portable translation unit to the control station, watching as the device attempted to decode the alien language patterns. The translator had been programmed with linguistic samples captured during previous encounters with the hegemony, but their written language proved far more complex than their verbal communications. "Getting partial translations," she reported. "Looks like a facility map, but the text is fragmented. I can identify what might be elevator locations, but the dimensional gateway isn't specifically labeled. How long do you need for a complete translation?" "Maybe 20 minutes for a full analysis." Hassan shook his head. "Too long. We continue with the original plan and search level by level." The team moved deeper into the installation, following corridors that seemed to shift and change as they progressed. Hassan began to suspect the hegemony used some form of adaptive architecture, with the facility's internal structure capable of reconfiguring itself to confuse intruders. His tactical computer struggled to maintain accurate mapping data as walls appeared and disappeared from the scanner readings. "Major, we've got a problem," reported Kim from the rear guard. "Motion detectors show hostiles moving to flank our position." Hassan checked his tactical display and saw at least 12 alien signatures converging on their route from multiple directions. The hegemony had clearly detected the assault team's presence and was moving to contain the threat before it could reach the dimensional gateway. "Into the next chamber," he ordered. "We need better defensive positions." The team entered a vast circular room dominated by a massive holographic display, showing what appeared to be a three-dimensional map of local space. Hassan could identify Saturn, its rings, and several of its moons, but strange symbols marked locations throughout the system that didn't correspond to any known human installations. The display was clearly some form of strategic planning system, showing the hegemony's intended expansion throughout the solar system. Jesus, whispered Rodriguez as he studied the holographic projection. Look at all those red markers around Earth's orbit. Hassan felt a chill as he realized the implications of what they were seeing. The hegemony wasn't just planning to capture Earth's orbital defenses. They intended to establish multiple staging areas throughout the inner solar system, effectively surrounding humanity's home world with alien military installations. The attack on Titan was just the beginning of a much larger campaign. Document everything, he ordered. Earth Command needs to see this. Sergeant Reeves began recording the holographic display while the rest of the team prepared defensive positions around the chamber's entrances. Hassan could hear the distinctive sound of alien weaponry growing closer as the hegemony forces closed in on their position. The assault team would need to make their stand here and hope they could break through to continue their advance toward the dimensional gateway. "Contact front!" shouted Chun as crystalline projectiles began streaking through the chamber's main entrance. Multiple hostiles advancing. The battle erupted across the circular chamber as human and alien forces engaged in a deadly firefight. Hassan coordinated his team's defense while studying the tactical situation, looking for any advantage that might allow them to break through the encircling enemy forces. The hegemony warriors fought with mechanical precision, but their tactics showed the same inflexibility the human strategists had identified as their primary weakness. "Williams, Kim, concentrate fire on the left flank," Hassan ordered. "Rodriguez, Chun, hold the center. We're going to punch through their right side." The concentrated assault broke the alien formation just long enough for Hassan's team to fight their way out of the chamber and continue deeper into the installation. Behind them, they could hear additional hegemony forces moving to pursue, but the Marines had gained precious time to continue their advance toward the dimensional gateway. "Motion sensors are going crazy," reported Reeves as they moved through another corridor lined with pulsing energy conduits. "The whole installation is coming alive." Hassan could feel vibrations through the floor as massive machinery activated throughout the facility. Emergency lighting had begun flashing along the walls, casting strange shadows that made navigation even more difficult. The aliens were clearly implementing some form of emergency protocol, possibly preparing to evacuate the installation or summon reinforcements through the dimensional gateway. "There," pointed Chun as they reached another major intersection. "That corridor leads down. Big elevator shaft at the end." Hassan activated his scanner and confirmed the reading. A massive shaft extended deep underground, with some form of transportation system visible through his enhanced optics. If the intelligence reports were accurate, the dimensional gateway would be located in the installation's deepest levels, protected by the facility's most sophisticated defensive systems. "That's our route," he decided. "Everyone check your ammunition and equipment. From here on out, it's going to get much worse." The elevator system proved to be another example of alien technology that operated on principles beyond human understanding. The platform descended through the shaft without any visible support mechanism, apparently held aloft by some form of controlled gravity field. Through the transparent walls, Hassan could see multiple levels of the installation passing by, each one containing machinery and equipment whose purpose could only be guessed. "Look at the size of this place," commented Rodriguez as they continued their descent. "This thing extends for kilometers underground." Hassan was beginning to understand the true scale of the hegemony operation on Titan. What they had assumed was a forward operating base was actually a massive industrial complex, complete with manufacturing facilities, research laboratories, and what appeared to be living quarters for thousands of alien personnel. Destroying the dimensional gateway would cripple their immediate offensive capabilities, but rebuilding would be well within their technological capacity. "Movement below," warned Reeves as her scanner detected activity at the bottom of the shaft. "Looks like they're preparing a reception committee." The elevator platform slowed as it approached the installation's deepest level, revealing a chamber that dwarfed anything they had encountered on the upper floors. The dimensional gateway stood at the center of the space like a technological cathedral, its crystalline framework reaching toward the ceiling in impossible geometric patterns. Energy coursed through the structure in visible streams, creating a portal that showed glimpses of alien star systems light years away. "There it is," Hassan said quietly. "The door they're planning to use to bring their entire fleet through." Around the gateway, dozens of hegemony personnel worked frantically at control stations, their movements suggesting preparation for some form of major operation. Hassan realized they had arrived just as the aliens were beginning to activate the portal for a massive reinforcement deployment. If the gateway became fully operational, humanity's desperate assault would become meaningless. "How do we destroy something that big?" asked Williams, staring at the massive structure. Hassan checked the nuclear charges his team had carried through the installation. The weapons were powerful enough to level a city block, but the dimensional gateway appeared to be protected by multiple layers of energy shielding. Conventional explosives might damage the control systems without destroying the portal itself. "We target the power source," he decided. "Reeves, can you identify the primary energy coupling?" Sergeant Reeves studied the gateway through her scanner and pointed to a cluster of crystalline structures at the installation's base. "Those conduits are feeding power to the main portal mechanism. If we can overload them, the resulting feedback should cascade through the entire system. Then, that's our target. We go in fast, plant the charges, and get out before this place comes down around us." Hassan led his team onto the chamber floor, moving between massive support columns while staying out of sight of the alien work crews. The hegemony personnel seemed focused entirely on their gateway activation procedures, apparently unaware the human forces had penetrated this deep into the installation. The element of surprise was humanity's only advantage against such overwhelming opposition. "Charges set," reported Chun from the power coupling location. "Timer shows 3 minutes to detonation. All teams, fall back to minimum safe distance," Hassan ordered. "This is going to be a big one." The retreat toward the elevator became a running battle as the alien defenders finally detected the assault team's presence. Hassan's Marines fought a fighting withdrawal while the nuclear timer counted down toward detonation. Behind them, the dimensional gateway was beginning to emit a low humming sound as the portal charged toward full activation. The explosion, when it came, was beyond anything Hassan had experienced in his years of military service. The nuclear charges detonated simultaneously, sending shockwaves racing through the installation's foundation, while the dimensional gateway's power feedback created a cascade of secondary explosions. The very fabric of space-time seemed to ripple around the collapsing portal as energies from distant galaxies were suddenly cut off from their destination. Hassan felt the elevator platform shuddering as the installation began to tear itself apart from the inside out. Above them, massive sections of the facility were collapsing into the dimensional gateway's destroyed chamber, creating a chain reaction that would soon consume the entire alien complex. The mission was complete, but extraction had suddenly become a very uncertain proposition. The surface of Titan erupted in a pillar of fire and energy as the hegemony installation destroyed itself, taking with it the aliens' primary staging ground for their planned assault on Earth's defenses. Major Hassan and his Marines had succeeded in their impossible mission, proving once again that human determination could overcome any technological advantage when backed by courage and sacrifice. Commander Sarah Chun watched the massive fireball rising from Titan's surface through the bridge viewports of the UES Prometheus, her expression a mixture of triumph and profound loss. The explosion had been visible even from orbital distance, a pillar of blue-white energy that pierced the moon's methane atmosphere and sent shockwaves racing across the installation's surrounding terrain. Major Hassan's ground assault team had succeeded in their mission, but at a cost that would haunt her for the rest of her life. "All stations report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the emotional turmoil she felt watching the destruction below. "I need damage assessments and casualty reports from all squadrons." Phantom Squadron reports 3 corvettes lost during the shield generator assault, came the response from Lieutenant Torres. Hammerhead Squadron suffered moderate damage from alien defensive fire, but all heavy cruisers remain operational. Ground assault teams? Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. We're receiving emergency beacons from Major Hassan's extraction team, reported Ensign Park. 15 survivors out of the original 43 Marine assault force. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, offering a silent prayer for the brave men and women who had given their lives to destroy the hegemony's forward operating base. Lieutenant Vasquez, Corporal Jackson, and so many others had died to give humanity a fighting chance against an enemy that had conquered 17 star systems. Their sacrifice would be remembered long after the last shots of this war were fired. Commander, we're receiving priority transmissions from multiple hegemony vessels throughout the Saturn system, announced Lieutenant Torres. They're requesting status reports from the Titan installation. Sarah opened her eyes and focused on the tactical display, showing alien ship positions across local space. Intelligence reports had identified at least 40 hegemony vessels in the Saturn system, ranging from scout ships to massive dreadnoughts capable of sterilizing entire planets. The destruction of their primary base would undoubtedly provoke a massive response as they attempted to determine what had happened and who was responsible. How long until they figure out what hit them? She asked. Unknown, Commander, replied Ensign Park. But we're detecting increased activity from their patrol fleets. They know something's wrong. Sarah studied the strategic situation with the analytical mind that had made her one of humanity's most successful deep space commanders. The assault on Titan had achieved its primary objective by destroying the dimensional gateway and crippling the hegemony's ability to bring reinforcements from their home galaxy. However, the alien forces already present in the solar system still vastly outnumbered humanity's combined fleets. Navigation, set course for the extraction point, she ordered. We need to collect Hassan's team and get clear of the area before the hegemony responds in force. Course laid in, Commander, reported Navigator Williams. Estimated arrival at the extraction point in 47 minutes. The Prometheus and its escort fleet began moving toward the designated coordinates where Major Hassan survivors were reportedly gathering after fighting their way clear of the collapsing installation. Sarah felt the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders as she contemplated the next phase of the operation. Destroying the hegemony base had been the easy part compared to what came next. Commander, incoming transmission from Admiral Morrison, announced Lieutenant Torres. Sarah accepted the communication, and Admiral Morrison's weathered face appeared on the main screen. The old soldier looked exhausted, but determined as he addressed her from his command center on Luna Base. Outstanding work, Commander, Morrison said. Preliminary sensor readings confirm complete destruction of the Titan facility. How are your casualty figures? Heavy losses, Admiral, Sarah replied. Major Hassan's assault team took 70% casualties, and Phantom Squadron lost 3 corvettes. But the mission was successful. I understand the cost, Commander, but what you've accomplished today has bought us precious time. Intelligence reports suggest the hegemony was preparing to activate that dimensional gateway within the next 48 hours. You've prevented them from bringing their main fleet through. Sarah nodded grimly. What are our orders now, Admiral? Return to Earth space immediately. We're implementing Operation Prometheus, the final defense of the home system. Every available ship is being recalled for what may be humanity's last stand. The transmission ended, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts as the fleet continued toward the extraction point. Operation Prometheus was the contingency plan developed for the scenario where all other defensive strategies had failed. It called for concentrating humanity's remaining military assets around Earth's orbital defenses, creating a final perimeter that would either break the hegemony's assault or be destroyed in the attempt. Commander, we're receiving a distress signal from Major Hassan's team, reported Lieutenant Torres. They're under attack by hegemony ground forces attempting to escape the installation. All squadrons, prepare for surface support operations, Sarah ordered. We're going to extract our people and make sure nothing follows them off that moon. The next 30 minutes became a desperate race as human ships engaged hegemony vessels across Titan's orbital space, while marine dropships attempted to reach the surface extraction point. Sarah watched the tactical display as her forces battled superior numbers of alien ships, using superior tactics and desperate courage to keep the evacuation route open. Dropship Bravo reports successful pickup of Hassan's team, announced Lieutenant Torres. 15 survivors aboard and ascending to fleet rendezvous. Excellent. All squadrons prepare to break orbit. We're going home. The journey back to Earth space took 18 days, during which Sarah received regular updates on the deteriorating strategic situation throughout the solar system. The hegemony had responded to the Titan raid by accelerating their timeline for the final assault on humanity's homeworld. Alien fleets were converging on Earth from multiple directions, preparing to overwhelm the orbital defenses through sheer numerical superiority. Major Hassan recovered from his injuries during the transit and provided detailed intelligence reports about the hegemony installation they had destroyed. His descriptions of the alien strategic planning chamber painted a grim picture of the enemy's intentions. The attack on Earth would be followed by systematic conquest of every human colony throughout the solar system, with the ultimate goal of complete extinction of the human species. They're not interested in surrender or negotiation, Hassan explained during his debriefing with Sarah. Every piece of intelligence we captured suggests they view humanity as a threat that must be eliminated entirely. Sarah absorbed this information while studying the latest reports from Earth's defensive preparations. Humanity had spent the last 3 years preparing for this moment, constructing massive orbital platforms armed with the most powerful weapons human science could devise. The question was whether human ingenuity could overcome the hegemony's overwhelming technological and numerical advantages. "Commander, we're approaching Earth space," reported Navigator Williams. "Fleet Command is directing us to take position with the 3rd Defense Fleet." Sarah moved to the viewport and looked out at the sight that never failed to stir her emotions. Earth hung before them like a blue jewel against the cosmic void, its white clouds and deep oceans representing everything humanity was fighting to preserve. Around the planet, hundreds of human ships were taking defensive positions, preparing for the battle that would determine the fate of their species. "All stations prepare for combat operations," she announced over the ship's communication system. "This is what we've been preparing for. The hegemony thinks they can extinguish humanity's light, but they're about to learn what happens when you threaten our home." The next 72 hours passed in a blur of preparation and anticipation as the human fleet readied itself for the hegemony's final assault. Sarah found herself thinking about the Marines who had died on Titan, wondering if their sacrifice would prove meaningful in the larger context of the war. Lieutenant Vasquez had died, believing she was buying time for humanity's survival. The coming battle would determine whether she had been right. "Commander, long-range sensors detect massive hegemony fleet movements," reported Ensign Park. "They're assembling just beyond the orbit of Mars." Sarah studied the incoming intelligence data and felt her heart sink. The alien fleet was enormous, containing at least 200 major warships along with countless support vessels and troop transports. Even with the advantage of fighting in their home system, humanity's forces were outnumbered by nearly 3-1. "Fleet Command is implementing final battle stations," announced Lieutenant Torres. "All ships are ordered to take positions according to Operation Prometheus protocols." Sarah took her position in the command chair as the Prometheus moved to its assigned location in the defensive formation. Around them, human ships arranged themselves into overlapping fields of fire designed to maximize their defensive firepower. It was a formation that had been tested in countless simulations, but never against an enemy as formidable as the hegemony. "All squadrons report ready for combat," came the reports from across the human fleet. "Orbital defense platforms are online and targeting systems are active." Sarah activated the fleet communication system to address not just her own crew, but every human warrior preparing to defend their homeworld. Her words would be recorded and transmitted throughout the solar system, reaching every colony and outpost where humanity had planted its flag among the stars. Warriors of humanity, she began, her voice carrying across the cosmos to reach every human ear. Today we face an enemy that has conquered countless worlds and believes our extinction is inevitable. They are wrong. We are the children of Earth, the species that left its cradle to claim the stars themselves. We do not yield, we do not surrender, and we do not accept defeat. The hegemony has made the mistake of threatening our home. They will learn that humanity's greatest strength is not our technology or our weapons, but our absolute refusal to accept extinction. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the right of our species to exist among the stars. Today we show the galaxy that humanity will never bow to alien domination. For Earth, for humanity, for the future of our children, let them come. The alien fleet began its final approach toward Earth's orbital defenses, their crystalline ships gleaming like technological predators in the void. Sarah gripped her command chair as she prepared to lead humanity's desperate defense against an enemy that had never known defeat. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and with it, humanity's last chance to prove they deserved a place among the stars. The war that had begun with humanity's desperate raid on Titan would end here, in the space around their home world. Whether that ending brought victory or extinction remained to be seen, but Sarah knew that every human warrior would fight with the same courage and determination that Lieutenant Vasquez had shown in her final moments. The hegemony was about to discover what happened when you threatened the survival of a species that had crawled up from the primordial soup to claim the cosmos as their birthright. Humanity's finest hour was about to begin.